So everyone, we're going to be talking tonight about how ESP or extrasensory ability affects the paranormal.
How we prep
Right.
to use ESP and during a
Right.
paranormal investigation.
Right.
How we present any
Right.
kind of findings or any experiences that we have to a client.
Right, being able to, that ability to pick up information from the environment, or maybe, pick up on someone's thoughts or emotions, or even, in some cases, precognition, where people seem to be able to see into the future events and prophetic dreams.
And in Pink's case, she's a sensitive, she's an empath, and she can go into an investigation and kind of feel what's going on in the house. And we don't let her know what any kind of research that we've done on the place that we're going. She is absolutely clueless of what she's walking into. So, and we do that for a reason, because we don't want her to know, because we rely on some of her information that she passes on for us to use during the investigation, give us a basis of of what we're looking for.
Oh, hey, Pink, I wanted to ask you about something.
For the millionth time, I do not know the lottery numbers.
So welcome to Control Chaos Live, episode number lucky 13. Got a good show for
And
you.
it's funny, your shirt kind of matches that.
Right. I got my little special occasion going here. My little, yeah. Even got a little 13 right up there.
I didn't see the 13. I was just amazed that they still made Jason and Freddy shirts.
Yeah, some stay in the closet longer than others.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Dark corners. So yeah, it's always an interesting topic. That's something that I have people ask me about. Just about every week I'll have 2 or 3 people ask me, about how that works with doing an investigation while having, the extrasensory abilities. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't hear it.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't use the sensory abilities that well, let alone the extrasensory. But so pretty much, I'm, my hearing.
I wouldn't call what you have sensory.
Right.
I would label that a little different, Frank. But carry on with your conversation. I don't want to get that in detail about your mental capacity. I shouldn't have said that out loud.
Right. See what I have to deal with when I'm.
We all love it, though. We love it.
But
hey, we were glad to have Pink back again. Second show, second debut. Well, I don't guess you could have 2 debuts, can you? But I did notice that she got the comfy chair again.
Right.
I did.
This is 2 shows in a row now that we've invited her as a guest, and she gets the comfy chair.
Well, yeah.
I'm sitting over here sitting on a stool with 2 legs. Y'all can't see what's going on behind this counter. I'm sitting here like this the whole time, and she gets the comfy chair.
I have a cushion.
I'm just trying to think of what I got to do to get the comfy cushion. This one.
You're the host. The host has to sacrifice more. I'm the co-host. You're supposed to make me comfortable and the guest semi-comfortable.
Whoa. What's this host, co-host stuff? No. I thought we were both hosts. No. Let's not try and throw seniority or rank on me. No, I didn't. No.
Well, you labeled it Frank host, Donald co-host, and guest.
No. That is.
I still think there's some kind of
I will break
conspiracy.
Into. I will break into my Bill Clinton impression on that. I could not comment on those salacious allegations that are being made against me at this time. So.
Let's not get political. Lord, let's not open that can of worms with everything that's going on.
So that's what we're going to do tonight. It's all politics and religion.
Well, we just lost.
And there everybody went, bye-bye.
Yeah, me and Pink are the only 2
Right.
Wow.
So no, with the with the abilities, we're kind of just talking about how they go with the paranormal investigation, but how it is to someone with abilities to investigate. How is your investigation, what you feel and sense and everything else different from someone like me who doesn't have any
It doesn't
kind of
feel?
right.
Cold-hearted.
I know.
That's all it is. Ice water running through his veins. You know, that's how
No
that stuff
feelings
goes.
at all.
Right.
Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Patricia. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. See, I got the chat room. So you got your phone out. This is my job. You're kind of
Oh.
have to fill out a grievance with the front office about this. This is my job. Union representative.
All right.
So you know what? Well, let's think about it. When I go into an investigation, for instance, I'm not really picking up on anything. Or
We use our
something like
sensories.
that.
I guess basically, when I go into an investigation, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you did mention something there. When we go into an investigation, for the two of us that we don't have any extrasensory abilities, we will go in and feel. We do use our sensories. We look for cold spots. We try to listen into the white noise. To where Pink goes in, she gets these feelings and these I guess not necessarily premonitions, but you do get you can actually sometimes see the person that you're feeling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Hang on.
And you can actually give a description.
Someone's asked me a question.
Oh, great! Yes.
I would say, my mother asked when I realized I had this ability. I was a very, very small child, maybe 5 or 6 years old, when I realized I was unique. Is that the way you put it?
That is, yes. Frank calls me special.
Oh, so you're special and I'm unique.
Yeah,
Right. That seems like a good description.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't specified if that's the good special or the special. We'll just special.
We'll just leave it as special. It's very special.
Thank you, Frank.
Hey, look, your son's here.
Hey, Ethan, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
So when like with me, when I go in, I'm not really thinking so much about what I sense or anything other than like you mentioned, looking for the cold spots, things like that. But all with our physical senses, and mostly what I'm doing, and of course this kind of goes to my particular style of investigating is, I'm usually carrying a camera. I usually have some type of environmental measurement equipment in my hand, and I'm tracking data and all of that. Now,
You send me in
unarmed.
Right.
We kind of do. We do send you in the blind because we don't want to give you any information that you already know going into it, because we're actually relying on you to feed us certain information. There's some things that you tell us that we may not use.
Right.
There's some things that you tell us that we will actually go on 100%. And you have another question in chat, since I'm sitting here rambling on, saying stuff that probably don't make much sense. Let's see. Your mother again asked what happened. What was the incident? What occurred that made you realize that you had these special abilities?
Well, I had a friend. His name was George. I lived in this house, and behind my house was like maybe a shop, I guess you would call it. Just an old building. And that's where George stayed. But when nobody was around, I would talk with George. But I mentioned something about it to a family member, and I got sent to a psychiatrist.
Oh, wow.
So, and I learned really quickly, don't
talk about.
Yeah, don't do that. So,
trust me, we're not going to put you in a straitjacket just yet. We do need those lottery numbers, or we may have to contact a few paddy wagons.
Do I have dreams about it? I used to have dreams.
Yeah, great question about Patricia. Yeah. Do you have dreams about it?
I used to, but I learned lucid dreaming because I do not like prophetic dreams. They are scary because it never seems to be about anything good. I've dreamed of car accidents that were going to happen, and then, you know, I'd see it on the news later. I'm not a fan of that. I don't want to know that. And so
now, does those kind of things, do they bother you? Do you hold on to those images or those dreams, and does it affect you later on as I guess as you recollect on some of the memories that you have throughout our investigations or in just everyday life? Because it's not only on investigations that you feel this stuff.
No, yeah, it's every day.
Yeah,
every day.
So.
It has taken many, many, many years to learn how to cope with it, I guess. There are a lot of techniques that I use to sort of block. It's the way I put it is I put up a wall, you know, and I have to, because otherwise it gets very, very overwhelming.
So you have to have a way to protect yourself.
Yes, because otherwise I would just be drained all the time. And you imagine walking into a room and feeling what everybody's feeling. It's too much, you know. So I've learned these, I guess, coping mechanisms over the year of how to block that out. And sometimes it doesn't work. You know, maybe somebody's got really strong feelings about something and it like breaks through the wall, but for the most part, I guess I stay shielded most of the time so that... Right.
Now, is it... Well, let me get to chat real quick. There's another question in chat. Then I was going to ask you another question. Or Frank can... Frank is just here.
No, I was just over here being just absolutely, completely amused that I'm sitting next to someone named Pink Floyd describing a wall.
That never dawned on me.
Sometimes I travel to the dark side of the moon.
And who are y'all talking about? Pink Floyd. I was born in the 70s. I don't know. No, I was just. But hey, Ann Thweek just joined us. Thanks for watching. Ethan had a good question. Do you see the face of the person, and can you get a drawing? Can you make a drawing of it? Is the face that you see on certain people that meticulous and that detailed that you could actually draw their face out?
That depends on the person. Some spirits have stronger energy than others. And so sometimes it doesn't come across as like I see them necessarily. It's a feeling. They give me a feeling, and almost like I'm flipping through a photo album is the best way I can put it. You know, I'm there, but I'm experiencing like feelings that they have felt.
Right.
And sort of images flashing. Now, sometimes if they're like super strong presence, it is like, how you doing?
Right, it's right there in front of you,
yes.
And you can actually see it.
Yes.
You know, we also have, and just to add a little bit more to that question, Ethan, we also have another team member, Dee. Mm-hmm. She does spirit writing. So what she does is she actually writes down what possibly they're trying to say. She does do drawings from time to time, yes. Some of the things that she sees. So we do pair Pink and Dee up quite a bit during the investigations for them both to get together. We let them just wander around. Y'all do your thing. If y'all get anything, come on the radios. Most of the time, we're not far away. So, and that's how we do a lot of that, so we could compare the two of these to the feelings that they're getting. We also have a third member, Andy. She is right now, she's basically somewhat in training, I guess. Not necessarily in training, but trying to hone her skill, trying to hone her extrasensory ability, trying to harness it a little bit and understand it more. So, yeah, I rambled on a little bit there. Frank, anything you want to add to this conversation? I mean, well, you're part of the show, too, I guess.
Well, something I was thinking about is, you know, I would just be curious to see how it is for you when, you know, when Donald or I go into the investigation, you know, we're thinking gear, we're thinking get these measurements, you know, get this, you know, what's the environment, blah, blah, blah. And what is it like for you when you walk into the investigation?
I like to get into, I mean, I have to, I guess, get set mentally because it's very, very draining. So it's like I almost have to put myself in a meditative state, sort of clear my mind, and then, well, down comes the wall, you know, because I have to be able to tune in to what's going on and basically allow that in. So it's more of a mental thing for me, you know. I mean, while y'all are doing all this setup and everything, that's when I'm sort of clearing my mind and like, you know. Then I have to sort through what are my feelings and what are someone else's feelings.
I imagine that's probably one of the hardest things to learn.
Yes, because, you know, I mean, if your friend is very sad, you feel sad for them. But for me, it's like, am I sad or is this their sad?
So basically, you're saying that you can pick up on everybody's energy that is in the building that we're investigating. So
alive
you
or
can tell.
otherwise.
You can tell when we walk in immediately that I'm aggravated with Frank right off the bat.
Did I just usually don't say anything?
You just don't. Okay, great. Because we need to talk if you do. You know. So, and that was going to be my next question. Do you pick up on the teammates' energy as we're setting up while you're trying to get familiar with what's going on in the building?
I do, absolutely.
You know, that brings about an interesting question because, you know, something we talk about regularly is how when you have a team that goes to a location, a lot of times they will work themselves up before they go. You know, that they'll look at all these YouTube videos or all these ghost stories and everything, and half of the information is not even accurate to begin with, but they will have themselves built up. Excellent case in point, you know. Is the Villisca Axberger house. I know I talk about it quite a bit. That house, when we investigated there, absolutely nothing scary happened. Now there was some significant activity. There were shadows, there were apparitions, there were disembodied voices, there were objects moving on command. Just super significant amount of activity there. However, none of it was ominous, none of it was scary. But I have talked to so many people that have said they would not step foot in that house, if they would be terrified to even go on the block, you know, and different responses like that. So when you work yourself up before an investigation, you know, you go in there and you're scared to death, you've already got this preconceived notion. And, you know, you have several team members that are in that state. How could that affect someone like you who is picking up that energy? Do you think that could bias an investigation or actually contaminate the environment?
It absolutely can. I mean, this is the reason I don't like to know anything before we go. I just need to know what am I punching into my GPS. That's what I need.
Address.
You know, that's what I need, the address, so I can get there.
If the GPS takes you in the right direction.
Yeah, sometimes.
Frank, the first 4 investigations, we drove around the block
That's true, we did.
8 times before we kind of figured it
out. Oh, it's over here. Yes. But as far as, you know, y'all do all the research, so y'all have a better idea of what we're going into as far as, you know, the history of the place. So if you know that something's happened, maybe you have got worked up over that, and here I am trying to get all calm and open up and relax and focus, and here's your energy all like, you know,
crazy,
trying to get, and it's like,
so you actually have to sit there, and it's like almost like an offensive lineman on a football team. You got to block this and block that.
Yes,
and block this and let this in and.
Yeah, so I have to decide. Okay.
So you're like a firewall in a computer.
Yeah. I have to decide, who is this coming from? Stop it.
No, Frank.
You know. Oh, okay. This is from over here, so it's okay. I can let this one in. Let me see. You know, and then it is emotionally draining.
I can definitely so. Well, I'll tell you, right, and you know when.
Oh, it might. That's actually, I don't know if that would help or not, because it's not a Oh,
If
I'm
you
sorry.
wore- if you
My
wore
mother,
headphones.
my mother asked, would it help if you wore headphones? But since it's not a hearing thing,
It's more of a feeling
it's a-
reception thing, yeah.
so I don't know if that would necessarily help.
It might be good to try that as an experiment during,
Yeah.
one of the investigations. That might be something that we need to try. Block
I
out
wonder
the
if I had
noise.
if I had the noise canceling headphones
Yeah.
with some white noise going, maybe, so that
And,
I'm like,
that might be something we might want to try out one time. That's a
Absolutely.
great idea, Carolyn. Great idea.
Yeah, I mean,
my mother's so smart.
She is. Don't tell her on here. Don't tell her on
Favorite
Facebook.
mother in the universe.
we'll break out the ping pong balls.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
We'll be set.
Patricia wants to go on an investigation tonight.
Right.
Hey, well, let's grab the cameras and go.
It's a
You gotta-
school night.
Yeah, it's a work night. My goodness.
That-
But I tell you, when we first started up C.A.S.P.I.R, of course, some of you that know that me, Pink, and my wife Jennifer, we started up a little team.
My Aunt Jennifer.
Yeah, it was my niece Pink, my wife Jennifer, and I didn't realize that Pink actually had this sensory ability, this extrasensory ability. Well, I was kind of skeptical about it. Well, a couple investigations in, we went to Wetumpka. No, it wasn't Wetumpka. We went to Margaret.
Mhm.
It was up in Margaret, up here in Alabama, still in St. Clair County. And we were doing an investigation there. Not much going on in the house, not a whole lot. We just did it because they had a child there. And you came up to me and said, "There is a woman here." She came, I remember it. I was sitting in the bedroom doing an investigation by myself. You walked in. There's a woman. Her name is Beth. So we asked the homeowners and all that, did they know any Beth or anybody by the name of Beth that owned it? And nobody knew anything about a Beth. So I just kind of, there goes Pink, just throwing out a name. No, I didn't really.
Full of it.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, either it was we did a little more research on the property while we were doing the review, or the homeowner talked to the neighbor or something like that. Anyway, somehow or another, Beth actually passed away next door. And I think it was the actual
Beth.
homeowner that talked to the neighbor about us doing the
Right.
investigation, and they contacted us and said Beth actually passed away next door.
Right.
And every hair on my arm stood up, and I was a believer after that, and I have never doubted you again, Pink. I'm sorry.
yeah, because what had happened, the neighbor had they were having a casual conversation. Hey, what happened? Oh, well, we had this paranormal team come out to the house last week. Other than that, nothing out of the usual. They were kind of talking about things, and you had said there was a woman there, and the name Beth came up. The next door neighbor was, Beth was discussed. From that, they contacted us, and we're still going through everything and still doing our review on it. And a look at the records actually showed it was actually Elizabeth, I think, was the full
Elizabeth
name.
was the full name,
And-
yes, but she went by Beth.
By Beth.
So it was really compelling stuff, and it really started making me give a little more validity to, Pink and her abilities there. And so we really depend on Pink a lot of times, but at the same time we can't depend on her too much, because after all, it is just personal experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing recorded. We can't go to the client and say, well, Pink said it's haunted, so it's haunted.
Right.
So we've
Pink
got
said-
to
Pink
we've
said-
still actually got to be logical about the evidence that you collect and what you present to the person.
But it is awesome when you can get, you're going back and you're reviewing the video, and the moment she says, well, I'm getting this feeling, and at that same time, just a couple feet away, you have one of your sensors is tripping, and
Or you capture an EVP,
Right.
kind of confirming what she
Right.
was feeling.
Right. So you have that correlation between, the hard data that you record, whether it's a measurement, whether it's something captured in their footage, that corresponds with what she's sensing at the time. And that is golden. You know,
It
that
really
is when it's perfect. So, like in the case that you're talking about, where she picks up the woman there and the name lines up and everything else. There is.
Well, that wind's
That wind.
kicking out there. We have got
Yeah,
a bad
yeah,
storm.
yeah.
I'm surprised he can't hear it over the Facebook Live here. Wow.
So yeah, that is perfect. Now, something that I want to ask you is,
Hi, Aunt Judy.
if for anyone who is, you know, maybe they've just found out that, you know, they've just realized that they're sensitive or whatever, what advice would you give to them to help discern what their own emotions are versus something that they're sensing? Because that seems to be something that a lot of people struggle with.
My advice on that, learn to meditate. The better you know you, I know that sounds weird, but the better you know yourself, the easier it will be to distinguish your feelings versus other people's. Then comes the act of learning to block. And that takes time. Meditation will be your best friend throughout the whole thing so that you can clear your mind and get focused. And
So kind of basically, you know, if you're in an environment like that, or, you know, just anywhere, and you have thoughts that don't seem like you, seem very uncharacteristic, and it's probably not.
It's probably not you.
Right. We got a question from Chad about the story that we just told about Beth. Ann asks, did Pink see Beth or just sense the present and just know?
In that case, I actually saw Beth. Let's see. The best way I can describe it is she was in my head, I guess. You know, like I could see her as she was when she was alive. And that's when she passed along, like her name, her, you know, and I got these feelings of how it was to be there. So to me, she was actually a pretty strong spirit. Because when I can actually see them, that's a strong presence to me.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this. If we're doing an investigation, we went on one investigation that was kind of a malevolent spirit. Yeah, what you said. A mean spirit, anyway. So,
it wasn't nice.
See what happens when you try to use big words if you're not sure what the meaning of it is. I just heard it on the radio on the way over here this afternoon, so I thought I'd throw it in. But anyway.
It was a supercalifragilisticexpialidocious acid.
The question is, say this spirit is picking on a certain team member. Can you tell if that spirit is actually attaching itself to an investigator or the homeowner? Can you tell that it's wanting to pick on that person? Can you sense what that spirit is sensing and what it wants to do?
Yes, in a way, yes. I would say, in my experience with not just that one necessarily, but any spirit, a bad spirit, the benevolent spirit, tend to attach themselves or focus on weaker people. Not physically weaker, you know, maybe mentally weaker people, you know, because they're easier prey.
Democrats. No, I'm just. I said it. I didn't mean that. I just shot out of there. I was watching Fox News before I came in.
I have to go to my safe space.
I'm going to have to eat a Tide Pod to get over this.
Oh,
might as well throw that out there, too. You know.
Oh.
Oh, so I'm sorry. I missed that whole story of it. It was good.
I know.
So leave it up to me to just blurt something out.
Right.
So, but well, that's good. I mean, because when we went to that case, I felt like that it just kind of picked on me a little bit more than it showed itself to someone else. And you kind of said that. Dee kind of said that. We invited another friend, Derek. Derek used to investigate with us, and we went to another residential case, and we did it. I didn't feel anything that night. I didn't see anything. I was basically, just there filming. At the end of the night, we were all walking out. Y'all all were huddled up talking with the homeowner, and Derek looks at me and goes, "You need to go on out to the car because it's looking at you." And that scared the dog mess out of me. I didn't like it, So, Derek, of course, he has abilities like yourself, and you both confirmed that apparently I made it mad for some reason, and I didn't even do anything. But y'all both said that it was coming after me. I needed to get on away from the home, so I did, and I followed directions pretty well. And I'm pretty fast on my feet, so I could have outrun everybody too. So
Really, you just have to trick the person.
Right? Yeah. As long as I'm faster than Frank, I'm fine. It's gonna get him and not me. So
I can run pretty good for a fat boy. So that's.
Oh me, but yes, I really have become a believer in what you say. At least give it some backbone, And when we do go through the evidence and you do tell us these things, there's a lot of times that we have to write this stuff down because she will get a lot of feelings during some investigations, may not get anything on others, So you really need to keep a log of what she says, or if you have an team and you have someone with extrasensory abilities, be sure to jot this down so you can compare it to your review later on.
Yeah, I usually carry a notebook.
And write everything down.
Well, Dee does. Because of the spirit writing, which is a very, very cool thing.
Which we're going to try to get Dee on the show here in the next couple of weeks, see if she'll come on and talk with us a little bit about this. Because it's some interesting stuff that the people of us that don't feel this stuff has no idea what is going on. We're just, we're just oblivious to actually what you're blocking out, So.
Right.
Well, and that, you're talking about, the notebook and everything else. That is another reason that the more cameras you have on the investigation, the better. A lot of people think that we take cameras to in order to capture something more. No, the camera, the chance of us actually capturing an apparition on camera or something like that is, I've got a better chance of hitting those lottery numbers we were talking about earlier.
That we're going to get later.
Right. And,
one way or the other.
And actually, while I talk to them, just if they come to mind,
just jot down a few numbers that comes to mind real quick, and I'll get them online here real fast. Just let me know.
But the the actual camera isn't a tool to pick up an apparition or something like that. If you're using a camera for that, or you're spending money on a camera for that purpose, you're going to be really disappointed. Where the camera comes in is to document everything that happens, to document, what's going on with you, and when you have your multiple cameras, it's, what's going on, what is Pink sensing, what is she saying over here, versus this other camera at the other angle, or even the same camera. What is it picking up? What's happening around at the same time? And you have all of this information in one spot. So that is...
There's the ambulance. Okay, there's the flashing lights now. All we're missing is the train.
Right.
And that should be along pretty soon here too. So.
Patricia asked do we go
yes, she did. Do we go to graveyards to investigate?
Not really. I mean, that's...
We've been to a couple.
Yeah.
A lot of your graveyards... a lot of your graveyards really...
One. Actually,
we do know a couple of good places to go, a couple cemeteries that we have had activity, but a lot of your graveyards,
most of it's more of a psychological
it
thing
really is, and
us than actually what's
And a
going
lot of
on.
us hold a lot of moral aspects when it comes to, cemeteries. We don't want to step on anyone's grave. We don't want to show any disrespect while we're out there. We want to show respect to not only the ones that are buried there, but the families that have to come and visit that place as well.
And I would say that graveyards, for the most part, are very quiet and peaceful.
Right. So
because most spirits don't hang out at graveyards.
Right.
It's really most of the places that you capture this stuff at is where events have actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of places, the cemetery is a place for peace. You peacefully lay someone in the ground to be sent to heaven. And most of the time when we sent to residential areas or businesses, something tragic or horrific has happened, and that's why that spirit is trapped there. Mm-hmm. Or residual energy, or stone tape theory energy absorbed into the
atmosphere. The seance.
Right.
Mother said we went to the one in Childersburg, and when Gio got a phone call. And she said, we're doing a seance.
Right, yes. Don't tell people that.
We're not doing a seance.
That's not what it is. Graveyards are fun. Graveyards are something that you can take people along to, and you still get that scary feeling. But as far as good evidence, we get far better evidence from residential, state parks. We've done a couple that's really gotten some really good evidence. But cemeteries, we try to steer clear of. We do a couple photo shoots from time to time in some, but that's only just for background purposes.
Well, and recently, we went Christmas caroling, and
we did, absolutely did. Yes, we sure did. If you haven't watched that Christmas Carol, don't, because it's just messing around. It was
we totally killed it.
We did. We really did. We actually came close to signing a record contract for Christmas caroling. So it was really, really good.
Yeah.
I did good. Everybody else sounded hard.
I believe you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, anyway, let me run grab my wading boots real quick. It's getting kind of deep in here.
So the investigation is where it took place, wrecks, hospitals, homes where abuse was known. Yes. That was actually, yes, that's generally what happens. Ann asked another question. Have you guys ever been to Bryce Hospital? A couple of us have. I think you have, Frank. You've investigated Bryce. I've never been to Bryce. By the time we got C.A.S.P.I.R going and everything, it was about the same time they were closing down Bryce. They really don't let people out there too much
it's
anymore.
Super hard to get clearance to go out there now.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
But luckily, though, we've got some backups. We have our place here that we can't disclose to you, though. The owner lets us come here and test equipment. It's actually an active place.
Right.
It is.
So we actually put a video up a couple of weeks ago of some evidence that we captured here.
Yeah, because we were out here New Year's Eve, and we ran a couple of experiments while we were out here, and we got some interesting results. And actually, if you haven't seen that video, check out our YouTube channel, or it's on the C.A.S.P.I.R Paranormal Facebook page. Either way, just C.A.S.P.I.R, C.A.S.P.I.R Paranormal. Look us up on our Facebook or
Mother.
our YouTube.
That
And
was for a whole different reason.
Well, your mom just putting all your family history out there.
That's the other side of the family. She's like, yeah, whatever.
So now, an interesting thing about from investigating places like jails, sanatoriums, asylums, those sort of places, something that seems to be happening, and this is just based on what I've captured. It seems like there's a lot more residual energy or place memories there that we record and capture. And now you with what you've built, do you think that's accurate?
I would say so. Certain things like especially I would say jails, sanitariums, things like that. Depending on the age, especially, what happened there will definitely not being active is like, hey, I'm a ghost, I'm coming through here, what's up? But this horrible thing happened here, and it's almost like it's on repeat, you know? And so it's I would say the residual is definitely more prominent in that sort of thing as opposed to like, hey, my Uncle Fred died here and now his spirit's hanging around kind of thing.
Now, when you do make contact, not necessarily make contact, but you do sense these spirits, do they try to pass along a message? Do they try to talk to you? Do they know that you can feel and sense them?
Oh my gosh, yes. Some of them, I don't know that it's necessarily, you know, they're trying to pass along a message or anything, but they are very aware that I'm aware. And so
it's like they flock to you.
Yes.
Finally
Mother
someone that can see us.
You know, the house I lived in next door to where I live now, we did, you know, I had the spirit.
Right, yeah, I've heard the
and
EVPs captured. Yeah, there's some really Class A EVPs there.
I would love to do that at the house I'm in now because somebody followed me from next door.
Oh, so they followed you to your new home. Mm-hmm. Wow.
So, but not like it was real far.
Right, yeah, they said to go right across the fence there.
So I think a good follow-up question to the one I was asking about what you would suggest, or you know, what you seem to encounter more at those kind of places, you know, whether it's intelligent or residual. How does the residual feel, or you know, whatever, compared to something that's intelligent, and how can you kind of tell the difference between the two?
It's residual is it's still, you can still very much feel it, but it's almost like it's a dull. I don't know, you know, it's not as strong as if you know, like the Beth situation where she was like, hey, I'm here. You know, and that's just like, that's the hair on your body standing up kind of feeling. Whereas a residual is more, it's like, oh, this really bad thing happened here. And, you know, it might be sad or like, oh, because that's, you know, what they were going through. But it's not as strong as an intelligent spirit.
Have you been on an investigation to where a spirit tried to communicate with you, but it scared you so bad that you didn't want to?
Yeah.
There's some
yeah,
pretty bad stuff out there that I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, how do you know a bad spirit from a good spirit, and taking in the messages or the communication that they're trying to do, or the spirit that's manipulating you, trying to lie to you? How do you decipher between the two? Is it a feeling that you get that you know, all right, this is a spirit that's okay trying to communicate me, I'll let this one closer than this one over here that's wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and got a pitchfork walking around? You know, I don't know. That's so.
Train.
Right on.
There's the train. Yeah, we told you we got all the elements tonight. So.
Yeah. It's kind of like distinguishing. You know, when you meet someone for the first time, and you have to basically judge their character. You know, like, is this someone that
the vibe they're giving off. Yeah.
So I'm always very aware of the vibe. You know, so.
The vibe. Like the clap. I mean, no.
No, I'm not aware of that.
Yes,
My
you are.
My mother is watching this.
Frank has exposed us to the clap a bunch of times. So, not the clap that.
No, yeah, they do. They throw my socks on the floor all the time at my house.
Right. Just for clarification. Just for clarification, we're talking about a literal
clap. Yes, we're
not to anything else.
Yeah, we don't want. Yeah, we don't want.
You're gonna make me have to buy one of those clapboards to actually.
We're gonna have to, because every time you say, "Hey guys, how about the clap?" I'm like, "No, I do not. We don't want the clap, you know. And most of the time, when he talks about the clap, Frank pulls his stick out at the same time, and it's. You know,
I'm not there for that.
Thank goodness he didn't. He ain't pulled his stick out yet. You really don't want Frank to pull his stick out on the show because it really
the kind of crap that I have to deal with. see, I work
the
hard.
stick we're talking about is little selfie stick.
Oh.
So I try to put a little funny spin on it, but it didn't work. I didn't get any happy faces or smiley faces. Oh, I did.
You did.
Hey, I did. I got one.
Right. See,
Awesome. Thanks, Ann, for finding me funny.
All this crap I go through to try and get good video for everyone. This is what I have to deal with. You know, they tease me about how I sync up my audio and video. They tease me about the equipment that I use. I need a vacation.
We all need a vacation, right. I think. My goodness. So, but anyway, yeah, I was just wondering if some people say the people on TV that you watch. Some people say it feels like pinpricks. Do you feel cold or do you feel hot, or is it like a pinprick, or is it just an emotion that you kind of pick up on?
I feel more of the emotion side of it. Now, I will tell you, like when I start getting in and communicating, my ears will get so hot, and I feel like they're gonna burn right off my head.
Well, that's because somebody's talking about you. That's what that means when your ears get red and they get hot. Somebody's talking about you somewhere. That's what it's always been told to me. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, little quick story. Do you remember when we did that house in Birmingham? That the people had been chained up in the basement, and
I didn't go on that a bit. I remember that. Go ahead.
You remember the people had been chained up in the basement, and there was that one guy that had been murdered, the hitchhiker, and his bedroll was still in there, and that you're talking about, that happening with your ear. Pink and I one time were investigating this house, and Pink and I were in the basement. It's like pitch black in there. Literally, the only thing that we could see at the time was the glow off of the infrared lights that were set up on our cameras. And you remember there was that one voice. Me and Pink were standing, side by side, about as far apart as we are now. And there was that one little voice where you could feel the breath on you that said, "Get out of the basement."
Yes.
You remember that?
See, that is creepy. That creeps me out,
Right, yeah, especially when you hear it audibly.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, it wasn't just hearing it. I mean, we both, you could feel the air move. It was physically like someone.
Well, did you get out of the basement?
No.
Heck no. It's like, okay, now we're staying down here for a while.
You done messed up, buddy. You done told us what you're doing.
Right. I'm already pitching a tent over here.
We were at the church, though. Dee and I were over here, and we're in there were books. I don't know, we're in the library, whatever we're at. We were over in this doorway because we were both drawn over there. We're kind of looking, and I dropped the F-bomb really loud.
I remember that.
And
right in the middle of
pastor,
church.
yeah, the pastor was there, and I was like, I'm sorry, but it was right. That's exactly what happened. It was in my ear,
Right, when I dropped the F-bomb in church, they always asked me to leave.
They didn't ask me to leave.
Right.
Perfectly.
Well, I remember that. I remember hearing you say that. And and I was like, whoa, did she just do that? And I'm like, well, there's definitely something in that room if Pink is dropping the F-bomb at church. So, but I remember that room, and I think it was the children's room.
Yes.
Their little playroom off to the side.
Little books
had a lot of books, a lot of reading books, because that kept drawing me to that room. For some reason, that room, I wanted to walk in and out of it a bunch of times that I was going through there.
It was the crayons.
Okay, they had My Little Pony coloring books in there. I'm sorry, I had to get a couple of the things painted or colored.
So something.
And glue. I was eating glue too. So.
I knew it. Right, it's like Donald's gotten quiet. What's wrong? Oh, he's just trying to get his lips unglued. Where he's been eating paste.
Ron, thanks for joining us. Nice to see you in the chat room.
So something I'm curious about, Pete, is being able to pick up on emotions and everything from the living, as well as from an environment, from spirit, whatever. How much, which one, say a spirit versus a living person, which one seems to be the most overwhelming when you pick it up?
It depends on the emotion. It does.
And when you say that,
strong emotions,
right?
like if someone is super
that,
angry or super sad, or
are there sad, or is sad and angry? Is that a different level of emotion when you feel that? Are you saying that you can tell it's a harder, more aggressive, energy coming towards you than a sad energy? You can definitely, tell that.
It's just when it's a very strong emotion, it is.
Well, we don't need to take Ann on a investigation with us here. Ann says she would sprint like an Olympic athlete and spew F-bombs all the way out.
Just one.
Sorry, Ann, you just lost your invitation to any public ghost hunt.
I'm taking you in public.
And Ann would, too. She would. Right. I mean, she's not playing.
Patricia said she would.
Right. So yeah, the reason I ask about that,
drive the getaway car. There you go. There's your job for that.
Right. That the reason I ask about that is, if you consider residual energy or place memories, they're all recorded from a moment in a person's life. Mm-hmm. It might have been their last moment.
But it was a significant moment.
But it was a significant moment in that person's life, or a routine that was repeated. And if you consider this, that a living person can put off enough energy to spontaneously play back and be detected not only by someone with emotions, but even people without, and be recorded and onto audio and video, 100 years later, 200 years later, it makes you wonder, how strong that would have to be. And that's kind of what I was asking about, what it feels like, compared with a living person compared to something in the environment or a spirit.
Right.
Well, I mean, a living person's emotions are always, I guess stronger would be a better word, but they kind of hit me different than, someone who is passed.
Different, I guess you're basically saying different types of energy, kind of more, lower level, or not as strong maybe, or not as forceful coming at you, something like that.
I mean, there are, especially in when you get around the mean ones, they do have very, very strong energy, and but it's a different kind of feeling than even if you're around a bad person, where I can feel that they're a bad person, but like the bad spirit, it's super strong, but it just sort of hits me in a different way, I guess.
Right. I've always kind of wondered about that. I've always kind of wondered if part of that might be because, as a human being, now the line between the brain and the mind, very controversial subject. Some people say they're completely separate. Here's the mind, here's the brain, and they coexist. Others would say, no, there is the brain. That's it. This whole concept of the mind is nothing but hogwash. But, you can't have a thing. There has to be some type of transferal of that mind, that consciousness. Or at least I personally feel that way very strongly. But when you consider it, you know, even though looking at it from that angle, even though our mind may not be completely controlled by our brain, you know, our personality and everything else, so much of it is regulated by our brain, by chemical reactions within the brain. You know, fear is such a powerful emotion. Anger is such a powerful emotion. But like fear, for instance, it doesn't even travel through the brain. It never makes it that far. It's in the cerebral cortex. It's a chemical, physical, hardwired reaction that is very, you know, it is a built-in survival instinct. And, you know, anger is very much the same way. And
now, is the cerebral cortex, is that hooked to your feet?
Because
Every time I get scared, I run. So apparently that cord goes straight from here right to my feet.
It's it's a short circuit. But you know, like sadness, for instance. You know, sadness, like you were saying, sadness doesn't seem to be quite as powerful as anger or fear.
Right.
But if you think about it, sadness is an after effect. It comes after the brain has processed this and this thought and this thought and this thought and assessed the situation, and after assessing the situation has determined we should be sad about it. Fear isn't like that.
No.
Fear kicks in, that's fight or flight. You know, it kicks in before the brain ever gets to analyze the situation.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. No, which, yeah, exactly. That's why it's connected to your feet, more than your brain. But you know, that when you think about that, it really makes you wonder, you know, when you take away those chemical processes that kind of regulate us, you know, that left brain logic, the right brain emotion, and
so one of your memories don't take a left turn to Albuquerque and then go, you know, out your ear or something. I don't know.
Right. So when you take away all of that, all of those chemical, physical restraints that kind of keep us in check, do you think that could affect, you know, the way that, say, a disembodied consciousness would feel, act, think, versus one that kind of had those physical breaks, like as in a living person?
I would say so. I mean, I guess because the best way I know how to explain it is that because it feels different. I mean, I can feel if you're sad, I can feel if a spirit is sad, but it's different. Feeling once it is here, I don't, you know. So I would say that an actual living person, when their emotions hit me, it's like super overwhelming. Like it's almost like like it's been washed over. And a spirit is more just like it's all, you know, it's here.
It's
and
kind of hanging out.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, look, this is how I was feeling. I was real sad. I was mad. I was, you know, whatever. It's more out here.
Yeah.
You know, and where if you got mad, it would be like
right in your face.
Yes.
Just right there at you. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. Well, we're down to about a minute and a half, and one question that I wanted to ask, Pink, and for some of the people out there who may have extra little empath or sensitive or whatever you want to call it.
Abilities.
Yes, abilities. At the end of an investigation, how do you wind down? How do you stop and wind yourself down at the end of an investigation? How do you go about that? Do you have to completely shut yourself off from the outside world for a little bit? Do you have to, you explain. I don't know what you do. For all you might do jumping jacks for 45 minutes. I don't know. But
No, definitely don't do that. Especially after an investigation, I'm usually so exhausted. Like, not just physically, but mentally. But at the same time, like, my brain's still kind of chugging along. So it's where that meditation comes in handy, because that, you know, that helps to clear. I go home, I turn on my thunderstorm sound, and I just sit and quiet. You know, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. I just want to sort of recollect myself, build my wall back up while I'm hanging out on the dark side of the moon.
Right.
And you know, just kind of come back together so I can face the next day, you know. I mean, it's the same way with big crowds. I don't like big crowds for that reason, you know.
Because that just wears you out, yeah.
Too much, you know.
Okay, well, that's good. That's a good little meditation, little thing to do right after you get done with the investigation. I guess, you know, sometimes you know, do you do it in the car ride home? Do you wait till you get home to do this? I know sometimes we drive a couple hours to an investigation.
Oh, you know, I have to wait till I get home, you know.
So, you know, you can't actually meditate driving. Yeah, that would be kind of...
No, on the way home, my ride home is usually quiet. You know, as far as, you know, people ride. We usually D-ride.
The ride, yeah.
Neither of us talk. We have music. Just music turned up. And so that's just, you can focus on that. And that's what you focus on.
Almost like a distraction.
Right.
Yes.
You basically have to take your mind off of what you just went through.
Exactly.
Okay.
So focus on the music, you get home, and then it's like, done.
That's over.
For like, don't talk to me for the next day. You know, I need to just...
I think that's some good advice.
I think so too, yeah. I think so too. I think that was great. Great show, by the way. I mean, we could sit here and probably ask a bunch more questions.
Well, I think the only way is we're going to have to bring Pink back on more often.
I don't know now. If she don't start giving up the good chair, I think this might be her last invitation.
Well, we're going to have to...
No, it won't be. I'll let her come back. Well,
So, well, with that being said,
yes.
Thanks, Pink, for being here again.
Always a pleasure to have you on.
We will definitely have to do it again soon.
Absolutely.
Very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And often.
Sure.
Hang on, man. Are you trying to...
Right. So...
Push me right out of here. Frank and Pink.
That's right.
Next week, and I'm pretty sure I'm just going to be here to set up. You can go sit in the car, Don, while we do the show.
All right, time to break it down. Get back in here.
Right. Yep. We're taking it down now. So anyway, thanks for...
I'm telling you. I mean,
So thanks for coming on and explain, because that is something we get asked about so often. So I think you really hit a lot of good topics there.
Sure did.
Thanks to everyone who tuned in and watched, who hung in there through our craziness, and the ones that are gluttons for punishment and keep watching every week.
Yes.
Regardless of better judgment.
We appreciate y'all coming back. We can lick windows together.
Mother says she wants to hear some EVPs from previous investigations.
We are actually trying to do that. We are actually trying to put together a show right now to where we can go back and pick out some of our best moments in our investigations and sit there and play them for everyone. You can watch them while we're kind of narrating. I want to sound like Morgan Freeman. Can I do it in a Morgan Freeman voice?
I'll tell you what. You can do Morgan Freeman. I'll set it up to modulate mine to sound like Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
Hey, that's all right. Yeah. Hey.
Like Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction, yeah. You got to come up with a great speech for that, especially, you know.
Right, so yeah, and might not want to let the kids in the room for that episode. There's going to be some language.
Rated R, this next show.
Be F-bombs all over the place.
Speaking of F-bombs, yep.
Oh, man.
Anyway, with that, thanks for tuning in, watching. Have a great week, and we'll see you all next week.
Next Thursday, 8 p.m., same time, same channel.
Okay, now I fix this thing up, so I'm not going to have to hunt the button this time.
Are you sure you're going to be able to
I can go right to it. Right. No problem. What? Well, where?
Your left, Frank.
What?
Your other left.
Huh? What?
The other way.
What?
Oh,
that's...
Lord.
Like where?
I'm going to have to write a standard operating procedure on this, I guess. There.